Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Have you ever thought as you sip that first cup of joe, that first cup of tea or coffee in the morning, how it comes to be? Where does it come from? How is it made? We're going to visit a working coffee farm today at the end of the harvest. But first, this is Latina Literati. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Guatemala, known for its spectacular volcanic soil, beautiful scenery, really wonderful weather, land of eternal spring, is known for some of the best coffee on earth. And today we're going to do a journey from bean to brew. Where does it all begin? Well, it begins with the babies. Small seedlings, the seeds are prepared and placed in what is called the nursery. Tens of thousands of seedlings are prepared for planting every year on farms. Some of them are mixtures of different plants that have been made hybrids so that they're more resistant to some of the different diseases that attack coffee farms. And as the climate gets warmer, there are more possibilities of illness of these little baby plants. After the seedlings are planted into the soil, of course, they're cared for, which means they are fertilized and anything around them that can detract from their growth is taken away. And after several years, they're ready for what is called their rehearsal harvest. And after about 3 years, they will start to produce every year. And so first you get the flower, and then you get the red berry that is picked. And many times every bush has to be hand-picked several times because it is the red berries that are needed to make coffee. So the green berries are matured into the red berries, then they're hand-picked, and then they're taken to the mill, or in Spanish, beneficio. And that's where they are washed and the outer skin is taken out. Sometimes at that point they are rested and dried. Other times the little honey around the bean will be removed as well. So really, when you're drinking coffee, what you're drinking is the powder of the seed of the coffee plant. Most coffee farms will use the wet mill process, where everything is taken off the outside of the bean or the seed of the coffee plant. And then that needs to be dried and it rests. And so after it rests for some time, it can be a month, it can be 2 months, then it is taken to have the final husk removed, and it's also then judged for its size, its color, its weight and what it looks like. And all of that is then categorized for mostly export, but also now there's a growing consumer in-country of good coffees, which is good. Guatemala's unique geography and rich volcanic soil makes for very distinct flavors. So you have areas like Huehuetenango or Atitlan or San Marcos or Antigua, and they have very different flavors, very delicious coffees. And in fact, these are all coffees that are considered the best in terms of being Arabica, of being mostly hard bean. And so this is really where the connoisseurs want to go when tasting some of the best coffee on earth. So the beans are hand harvested. That means that there's a lot of intense labor there. Then they are washed, as we said, they are dried, then they are prepared for export. And so containers of coffee go all over the world and are enjoyed by people all over the world. So I think it's really important, central, that we understand what an incredible luxury product coffee actually is. How many hands touch the beans that go into making your cup every morning? I think it's really important to take a look at the process and see how intricate it is. It is not a simple process, and it is something that we should pay tribute to, because I think there is no greater good than using your hands to nourish others. There is no greater blessing than to take land and the goodness of the earth and all of the bounty of Mother Earth and growing something that others will be nourished by, others will enjoy. Once transported to the roasters by ship, by truck, by train, by car, then the roasters take these green beans and roast them to perfection. They can be light roasted, medium roast, dark roast, depending on what the roaster wants to offer and, of course, what those who drink coffee want to drink. And so once these aromatic flavors are brought out by the roasting process, they are ready for final consumption. So when you go into your favorite coffee bar or your favorite coffee cafe, that's what's being offered to you, the final bean in its final form to be ground and roasted as you like. Whether it's an espresso machine or a French press, there's different ways to prepare coffee depending on what you like to taste. Every sip of Guatemalan coffee carries with it the dedication of the farmers, the richness of the land, and a history rooted in tradition. And in some farms, many times there are social programs to help the community and to offer schooling and to offer different health initiatives. So it's also has every cup that you drink is more just when you know that the farm that it comes from is offering these types of benefits to the community. So next time you enjoy a cup of coffee, remember the journey from the highlands of Guatemala to your cup. And remember all those that made this delicious flavor possible for you. And now for my favorite part of the video, the book reviews. The first book is really historical, takes a look at the whole history, the journey of coffee from its origins in Ethiopia to modern day production. It's called The Devil's Cup, and it talks about how it was seen as something not necessarily for everyone. Only the most privileged got to drink coffee many years ago, and that of course has changed. Now everyone gets to drink coffee, but it was first roasted in Yemen and then originally brought to Europe by the Turks. The Turks actually left, it is said, some bags of roasted beans after they were routed by the Austrians. And so you can go to Vienna and see the first coffee house from, I think, 1750 there, fascinating. And that's how the coffee houses in Europe began. So this is a great book, gives you the history, highly recommend it. Always check your local library, your local bookseller. We want to support our local libraries and our local booksellers when we're looking for these books. The second book I'm going to recommend is called The Monk of Mocha. What a wonderful book. So this is the history of a guy who was actually born in a not very nice place of San Francisco, a place called the Tenderloin. He eventually goes back to his family's homeland of Yemen, learns all about the history of mocha, which is one of the many names given to coffee. Coffee, the word coffee comes from the Arabic gahwa or ahwi, depending on what part of you're speaking from. But so he goes back to Yemen, finds all about it, and starts typical Yemenis coffee brewing. And today, it is some of the most expensive coffee, and he serves it with a cardamom cookie from his mother's recipe. So this is a rags to riches story that is so beautiful because it traces the history of the coffee from Yemen all the way back to the States and all of the things that this young man has to go through, including the US-Saudi invasion of Yemen and bombing to try and get out and save his coffee concept. And the final book I'm going to recommend is called The Coffee Trader. Also history, wonderful book that discusses what happens with the original coffee commodity trading. How did coffee even become a commodity traded? I'm going to give you a hint. It was in Amsterdam. But in any case, commodities used to be traded in cafes. That's how what we now call the markets began. And so this is a history of how coffee as a commodity was traded from hundreds of years ago. Again, fascinating story, thoroughly enjoyed it. Really recommend this book. Thank you so much for joining me on this joint journey. This is a community and we would love to hear from you. What are the books you're reading? What's your favorite type of coffee? what would you like to see us talk about? Because we do take recommendations. Thank you so much. We would love you to subscribe to Latina Literati and let us know how we're doing. We would love to hear from you in the comments. So con mucho cariño, mucho salud, mucho amor. Gracias.